Good Friday morning. Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Lauren Lemanchek. Developing right now, Minneapolis police and fire are investigating a scene from overnight in northwest Minneapolis near North 33rd Avenue and North Penn Avenue. That's in the Cleveland neighborhood. This is what our crews saw there just after midnight. The fire chief tells us a fire started in an apartment on the first floor and they had to rescue 4 people. No one was injured in that case, but they told us police were also on the scene for a shooting about 500 feet away. We're waiting to hear back from MPD on what happened and if the shooting and fire are connected. Right now, Target stocks are in the green after the major announcement that 1,800 jobs are being slashed. More details, like exactly who will be let go, come on Tuesday. Audrey Russo's at Target headquarters, where there are thousands of people worried over the next few days.
Yeah, no doubt this is going to be a tough weekend for those folks. Tuesday is the day that they'll find out more information about the layoffs, but it's important to note they've actually been asked not to come into work next week here at the corporate offices behind me. They've been asked to work from home. So for now, these employees know the numbers. The company says 1,000 corporate workers will lose their jobs and 800 open positions will also be eliminated. Now, Target has faced flat and lagging sales since 2023. In an email to workers, COO Michael Fidelke blamed too many overlaps in the company structure. Now, we spoke to a U of M management professor who says the number of corporate headquarters in the Twin Cities could make it easier for laid off employees to find their next role.
So the good news is that there's a really strong market for this kind of talent, administrative talent in the middle market areas for it within the Twin Cities.
Now, these Target cuts represent about 8% of their corporate staff and their corporate team. It is important to note that no frontline store workers or supply chain employees are going to be impacted by this particular round of cuts. Back to you.
Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem is heading to Minneapolis today. She'll hold a press conference just before 5 o'clock where she'll talk about ICE operations and the Trump administration's immigration enforcement in the Twin Cities. During her visit, some groups are planning to hold protests through the afternoon. Right now, Alaska Airlines is resuming operations, lifting a ground stop on all its flights in just the last few hours. That ground stop was requested by the airline late yesterday as they worked on fixing a computer outage. It's not clear right now what caused it. During that time, though, more than 229 flights were canceled. At MSP, 2 flights, 1 incoming and 1 leaving, are both canceled today. Although things are getting back to normal, impacts from the ground stop could linger into this morning. A check of the markets right now after President Trump announced he's terminating trade negotiations between the U.S. and Canada. That's after President Trump said the Ontario government misrepresented remarks from Ronald Reagan in an ad speaking negatively about tariffs. Meanwhile, on the Homeland Security front, Trump says his programs to make America safe are successful and here to stay, and that includes striking boats his administration says are carrying drugs. NBC's Alice Barr has details from Washington.
Hi there. We're tracking a lot of new developments, starting with trade tensions ratcheting up once again with one of America's closest allies. President Trump overnight calling off all trade negotiations with Canada over this Government of Ontario ad featuring former President Reagan saying high tariffs lead to retaliation and fierce trade wars.
Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs.
The president citing a statement from the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute accusing Ontario of using selective audio and video that misrepresents the 1987 address without asking permission to use and edit the remarks, noting the foundation is reviewing legal options. President Trump accusing Ontario of interfering with a looming Supreme Court case on the legality of his tariffs that he called very important to national security and the economy. That amid growing legal questions over the Trump administration's military strikes against alleged drug trafficking boats in the Caribbean Sea and Eastern Pacific Ocean.
The cartels are waging war on America, and just as I promised in the campaign, we're waging war on them.
The president now suggesting operations may move on land, saying his administration will inform Congress about targeting drug runners on land, but stop short of promising to seek authorization for military force. Democrats in Congress calling for hearings on the strikes that have killed at least 37 people. The administration has not presented evidence there were drugs in all of the boats, though the president is adamant the strikes are legal and necessary to keep drugs out of the country.
President Trump also announced he's backing off plans to send National Guard troops to San Francisco amid backlash from the tech community, saying he'll focus instead on other cities like Chicago. The president leaves tonight for Asia in a trip set to include a meeting with China's president as a critical trade deal remains elusive. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
We're live this morning from the U.S. Capitol. The government shutdown dragging on for a 24th day, and it's guaranteed to last at least into next week. Federal workers are set to miss their first full paychecks today. This comes hours after the Senate failed to advance a bill that would pay federal employees, members of the military, and contractors who've worked through the shutdown. GOP Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin introduced that bill, which failed to get much Democratic support. The Senate has adjourned until Monday, ensuring the shutdown lasts into next week. Here in Minnesota, tens of thousands of people may lose food aid benefits. That's after the state said SNAP benefits, along with Minnesota Family Investment food benefits, will not be issued until next month unless this shutdown ends. The Open Door Food Pantry in Eagan already made changes in the past 6 months to increase its reach by 30%. And now they're preparing to serve even more Dakota County residents.
I will tell you that in the last few months, especially since the shutdown has occurred and grocery prices have continued to rise, we've seen 30 to 40 new families find us every week. And in the past 2 weeks, we've felt a lot more anxiety and concern from folks that are very worried about the impact of all the things around them.
This week, Kemp's and Cub Foods dropped off a large donation of shelf-stable milk to Second Harvest Heartland. The food bank says they're working with their food shelf partners as well as county and state leaders to prepare for the increase in demand. The shutdown has also delayed payments to low-income families for a heating assistance program. Yesterday in Richfield, the Minnesota Department of Commerce said 75,000 families have already applied for heating assistance. The state's processing those applications so people can get their money when the government reopens.
The thing that feels scary right now is that without those dollars available, we don't have the resources to then support families on those bills. And we don't know when we will start being able to support families.
Under the cold weather rule, utilities cannot shut off heat to families during the winter as long as they're signed up for a payment plan. We have an update this morning on the retrial for the alleged mastermind behind the kidnapping and killing of Minneapolis realtor Monique Bowe. A judge ruled Lyndon Wiggins' girlfriend, Elsa Segura, can testify in the case. She'll be taking the stand on Monday. Segura is currently serving a 20-year prison sentence for her role in Bowe's murder. Developing right now, the former CEO of the Minneapolis Regional Chamber of Commerce is accused of embezzling more than $200,000. He allegedly used some of the money for first-class plane tickets and oceanfront hotel rooms for his family, according to court documents. An indictment filed Wednesday accuses Jonathan Weinhagen of creating a fake consulting company to funnel money from the chamber for personal expenses. Documents also say Weinhagen stole $30,000 in reward money meant to help solve crimes involving children, including the shooting death of KG Wilson's 6-year-old granddaughter, Anaya Allen, whose killer has not been caught.
Some greedy, heartless monster took $30,000 out of a fund of some innocent children's justice reward money. That is just unheard of.
He is currently free on a $25,000 bond. You can watch this full story right now on our website and streaming app, KARE 11 Plus. This morning, 12-year-old Sophia Fortis is waking up at home nearly 2 months after being shot in the head during a prayer service with her classmates at Annunciation Church. Sophia got a hero's goodbye yesterday outside HCMC as all of the dedicated doctors and medical staff who treated her cheered her on. Sophia has been recovering in a rehab facility for the last month, but yesterday she got the all clear to officially go home. And the Cathedral of St. Paul is hosting a special memorial and benefit concert for those impacted by the Annunciation shooting next Thursday. It starts at 7:30 at the Cathedral. It will feature the Cathedral's choir, St. Cecilia's Children's Choir, and the Minnesota Orchestra. Admission is free. It's a huge day for St. Thomas hockey as the Lee and Penny Anderson Arena will officially open its doors. It's a beautiful $175 million facility for Tommy Athletics. Tonight, the men's and women's hockey teams will host Providence and take the ice for the first time. We got a tour of the facility before it was finished and spoke with men's hockey head coach Rico Blasi about their new home.
It puts us right there with everybody now, and we're trying to eliminate all the excuses, right? So there's no more excuses about not wanting to play at St. Thomas. We have a great facility. Our program's on the getting better each and every year, and we feel like we have really good student athletes.
Stick with us. There's more news and weather coming up after the break.